Okay, hi. Before we start the video, just wanted to announce that I'm going to be doing a giveaway. I kind of sat back and forth, going on what I should do because Spider-Man 2 is coming out, and that's very exciting for a lot of people, especially myself. But I thought I'd do something nice for the community, you know what, or for people. So I'm going to be giving away 3 copies of the game. There's going to be a link in the description. If you go down, it'll have the whole steps and everything. It's just follow my Twitch, check out my YouTube channel, my Twitter, stuff like that. All pretty simple stuff. And then that'll be going on. The day I'm recording this is the 15th, and then that'll be going on until the 27th. So it'll be between that time span, and then I'll pick the winners on probably the 27th, or I might pick it on the 28th on that Saturday. Either way, winners will be picked Friday or Saturday, and then I'll be getting in contact with them. If they don't if I can't get a response within the next 2 or 3 days, then I will be moving on and picking different winners. But either way, I'm giving away 3 copies. If you're interested in that at all, go ahead and check the link in the description. And yeah, that's all. Let's get back into the video. Editor, do your thing. Thank you. Okay, this is a different kind of style video from what I kind of am normally posting, aside from, I guess, that Modern Warfare video that I posted, the zombies one. Um, Hi, how you doing? I'm gonna be talking about Spider-Man 2, and there's some things I kind of want to talk about right before the game comes out. Mainly just I haven't really fully expressed the things I want to see, the things I'm hoping to see, the things that I'm hoping that come out of this game. It's all very kind of simple stuff, if you ask me. Not that like if it's in the game or if it's not in the game, then I'm gonna lose my mind, but it's stuff that like I think it'd be really cool. I think it'd be very fascinating, some of it, but then other parts of it are probably going to be like, take it or leave it. The main thing I do want to say that I want to see more of is I want to see more interesting side villains. I want to see more kind of unique, like, side characters that you don't usually see a lot of, like, main spotlight kind of given. Not that I want these characters to be in the main spotlight. I think like what Spider Verse is doing right now with putting Spot in the spotlight, pun intended, like having him front and center, like the biggest glow up a supervillain could ever ask for. Having him in that kind of position is super cool. Seeing a character that is kind of like a gag in the comics, become this full fledged like multiversal villain. It's super cool. But I do want to see some side villains that have kind of gotten teased and referenced in the last game. Characters like Chameleon and Mysterio. Everyone talks about Big Wheel. I don't think Big Wheel would be cool at all. I think Jack o' Lantern, as well as one of those villains that he's kind of like Green Goblin, but he's not. I think he'd be a interesting character to bring in pre Green Goblin. Maybe he gets some Oscorp tech, or maybe that's what inspires Green Goblin. Either way, I think he'd be a cool character considering the time the game's coming out as well. It's very close to Halloween, so if they were to do a Jack o' Lantern style character, that'd be very fascinating. He could almost serve as like the taskmaster for this game if they want to do something like that. Someone that constantly pushes you to like enhance your combat, and you have to be forced to do it. Otherwise, you're just not gonna beat him. I think characters like that would be super cool. Mysterio is one of those ones though that, like, from what people have seen in trailers and whatnot, we're pretty sure we're getting Mysterio, and I'm gonna be kind of upset if we don't, just because of how much people have been like, yeah, this is for sure Mysterio. Like, the symbols look like him. The character that they've kind of shown off in the game almost looks like him, especially like maybe with the outfit. I can't 100% see it. Every time I see it, I'm like, is that Mysterio though? I think it'd be cool, and I really do want to see Mysterio's character, but I'm not 100% sure if that's where it's going as of right now. Chameleon is one of those ones where I think you could do something very fascinating with him, where it could be almost like the Spider-Man side mission or Spider-Man side mission in the first game, where you pull up to a crime scene and it's like things have already gotten bad or maybe gone right or whatever, and then it's kind of like A-list Avenger was just here and was like beating the shit out of people. Like, we don't know what happened. Like, Daredevil was here and he just started like robbing this bank or whatever. Like, okay, that's odd. That doesn't sound like them. And then the more you progress into it, the more you kind of start learning. Oh wait, this could be Chameleon, and you have this big boss fight with Chameleon. I think that'd be something very fascinating to do. Not that we get it, and I don't know how he would do it right, because I feel like the only times I really liked Chameleon, one of the best times I liked him was in the Spectacular Spider-Man show. He was great in that, what they did with his character, because it was him going through that symbiote arc as well as what he's doing in this game, and I think that could play very well if we get the same kind of style story where Chameleon like dresses up as Spider-Man, but he's in the red and black suit, the red and blue suit the one that we love, and then he's off doing crimes or whatever, and that kind of just sets Peter off, where he's being seen doing all these bad things, and now it kind of just takes him off a little bit more, pushes the like anger in the story a little further than what it originally might have gone. I think that'd be very fascinating, but also could be a little difficult to do right, because Chameleon's a weird character. He's a weird character to handle, if you ask me. I feel like I've only read a handful of comics where I was like, yeah, that was really like that was cool. What they did with that character just then was really fascinating. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. Beyond like those three villains though, I can't really see much else. I was going to say Sandman, but Sandman was already confirmed in the last trailer that dropped the other day, so I don't have to be begging for Sandman anymore, even though like I love Sandman as a villain. What I want from him though, it looks like we're gonna get like a big boss fight with him, which I don't mind at all, but I want them to pretty much, to bring up Spectacular Spider-Man again, I want them to do what they kind of did with the show, where you're not always constantly doing these big boss battles. Sometimes they're just robbing a bank and you just have to stop that. Almost like the Shocker mission in the last game, where you kind of just pull up and he's in the middle of a bank heist and you stop him. I want crimes like that. I think that adds a lot more depth. I want a lot more character with these villains, other than just kind of like what we as fans know and what like the little bit of story snippets you get from the game. I think it'd be really fascinating to like actually explore all these different crimes that they're doing, and different stuff around the city. I think it'd be really fascinating to kind of get into that and be actively able to stop these crimes. Obviously, that kind of sounds like a lot, especially in terms of everything else that they're tackling with the symbiote story and then all the other gameplay stuff they're doing. And I'm going to get into some gameplay stuff here in a second. But me personally, that's one of the things that I'm really hoping for, just more side missions and random crimes that you can do where it's bigger scale. And I'm not asking for them to up the ante like 20 times, because me personally, every time I talk about Spider-Man 2, if they were to pretty much just keep everything the same from Spider-Man 1, but advance the story at the same gameplay mechanics, anything, or in everything, I would still love the game to death. I don't care. I think the web swinging and everything in Spider-Man 1 is flawless. That will kind of bring me on to my next point, though, is I do want to see better web swinging. And the main thing that I want to see is I want to see faster speed, and I want to see more um, like user control over your web swinging, being able to hold on to your webs for longer, not legs. Stuff like doing like loops, shit like that. There was a clip from Spider-Man 2, I think it was, or Spider-Man 1, the Tobey Maguire one, where you see him kind of like swing up on a pole and like fly back up. Like stuff like that would be really cool. I really hope that the slingshot web isn't going to be exclusive to like you have to be like on a street between two poles or whatever. I really hope you can do it between buildings, or maybe just like while you're up a building. Stuff like that, kind of just be able to web two different points, pull back, and then launch yourself. I think doing something like that would be really cool. More tricks have technically already been confirmed. I'm sure Peter's gonna have a whole new list, and they're gonna kind of overhaul his from what like we've seen a little bit of. Mainly because Peter's tricks in the first game were very simple, and he didn't flow into the tricks. Miles' game, they really improved on that, and they made it where he was flowing with his tricks. If you were doing like a backflip or like spinning around or whatever, he'd like do that trick into the web swing. It felt super clean, super natural. Whereas Spider-Man 1, it kind of felt clunky. It was still cool to do the tricks, but you didn't go from the trick into the web swing. You kind of had this awkward phase where he'd be doing a backflip and then like quickly like pull back up, get in web swing position, and then swing from his web. I don't technically mind that because I'm not the kind of person doing tricks in the air all the time whenever I'm playing. But if I am, then that is super nice to kind of feel it flow and also kind of see the different ways that your character swings around, because you get different positions and whatnot. It's super cool. That's something that I want to see. And again, I've talked about the speed, but I'm really curious to see how fast you can push it, because I've already talked about how excited they are to be able to push the limits of the PS5, and I think this is going to be one of the first games that actually can successfully do that, just because it's going to be such a big city, and if they're being like real about like how fast you're able to move through the city, then it really is going to push that SSD to its absolute limit, where you're just swinging through Manhattan or Queens or Brooklyn, as fast as you can, pushing that SSD, and I think that's gonna be super cool to see. Some of the story stuff, technically speaking, I mainly just want to see. I want to see us in the symbiote suit for a good chunk of the game. I want to see how far we regress as Peter. Um, I'm really excited to see what Yuri Lowenthal brings to that character as well, because he's already talked in interviews about how like this has been a struggle for him trying to find where he needs to be for Peter in this game, because of the fact that he's reaching a point now where I mean, I guess like Andrew said in fucking No Way Home, where it's like he's getting bitter, he's getting mad, he's thinking less of other people, more for himself. you know, and that's exactly what we need to see from that symbiote because it kind of just starts pulling all the darkest emotions from you and starts feeding on that, you know. And I really want them to do it right, and I really don't want them to have it be like you're in the symbiote suit for like 5 missions, one or two bad things happen, and then Peter's like, oh wow, this is not good, you know, because that's the bad part about the suit, the fact that it kind of holds on to you and it feels really good and it makes you feel good about yourself despite the fact that you're not being a good person. You know, I think that's gonna be something very interesting for them to tackle, and I'm very excited to see how they tackle it. I just hope that it's not gonna be like a quick like 6 missions through, Peter's like, oh wow, this is bad for me. Let me just knock on this bell real quick and get the suit off. I want them to do something different with the way he gets rid of the suit. I think technically everyone's hoping for like the whole like go in the clock tower, you know, ring the bell, and then the suit falls down and then lands on Eddie Brock or maybe Harry in this game. Could be, hell, maybe Genki for all we know. But I do want to see them do something different, but I'm not going to be upset at all if they don't, because that's one of the most iconic Spider-Man things in the world. You know, that clock tower scene, seeing him get rid of that suit. It's beautiful every single time. Every single time I read that comic, single time I watch Spider-Man 3, that scene in particular is really good. Even Spectacular Spider-Man, I think, did it that way, except I don't think he hit the bell. I can't remember exactly. Either way, I want to see them do something different with the separation of the suit as well, but I can't really talk too much into that because I just as much as I'm like I want to see them do something interesting, something new. I still am so like I would love to see them do Eddie Brock in this game and see him kind of like get pissed off at Peter, and then like it falls down and reaches Eddie Brock, and then we get that whole classic Venom story. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure we're not going to get that just because trying to set up a brand new villain in the second game, like out of nowhere, Eddie Brock shows up and we have to force this story. I think it's really leaning into the fact that Harry is more than likely going to be Venom, mainly because of the fact that whenever like obviously the trailer, the whole like the line that Harry says to Peter is we're going to heal the world, and then same thing Venom says at the end of the trailer. So I think that's what they're leaning in. I don't mind that at all. I think that's going to be very interesting because it's going to be a close friend that he's genuinely trying to help, but also now he has to fight. You know, I think that's going to be a cool dynamic. Just more side missions, and not technically like just clutter, but I want to see more like I guess some people would call it like mundane kind of tasks, but I want to see more like friendly neighborhood kind of tasks where you're just helping someone out, you know, whether it be like someone's having like electrical problems and you can swing on his miles and like fix a generator for him or whatever, or maybe someone needs directions and you can swing them through and lead them to wherever they need to go. Stuff like that. It sounds very dumb to a lot of people every time I bring it up, but also I love some of the comic stuff whenever it's literally just Peter helping out a random citizen just trying to be that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I think that's always some of the coolest things just because it brings him back down to earth. He's always like caught up in these like world ending threats, you know, whether or not he even chooses to be a part of it, he kind of gets sucked into it. I do think I would really like to see more like simpler side missions in terms of just like you're helping out people. You know, I think crimes are super fun, and I'd love to see what they do with those and the change they do to some of the crimes. But me personally, I would really love to see them do something with uh the like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, that like that kind of stuff. Some of those missions, you know, where you're not really fighting a whole lot of people. You're kind of just doing random tasks to help citizens. I love that. I love that part about Spider-Man. It's probably something we won't see simply because of the fact that it is kind of mundane and it won't be for everyone. But me personally, that's something that I would love to see. Suits. Now, the suit list that I have is super short because there's really like I'm super satisfied with every suit we got in the first game. I love almost all of them. But there's a few suits that I'm like, if they could somehow bring this in, I would absolutely adore Insomniac so much, just because I love each and every one of these suits to death, right? And to start it off, Spectacular Spider-Man. I think everyone can agree with me that that iteration of Spider-Man is amazing. Uh, I can't remember the voice actor's name. Josh Keaton. Josh Keaton. Amazing Spider-Man voice actor. Absolutely love the guy. I would love to see him do something else. He was in the Spider-Verse movie. That was super cool to see him. Even though he literally had one line, but it was such a good line. It was such a good line. Either way, I would love to see his suit. I love his spider logo. I love the eyes and the head shape. I love all of it. I think the art design in that show is fantastic. It might be difficult for them to do that suit justice, but I do think it would be really cool, and I would love to swing around in it, especially if they put like that animated filter on they kind of did with the other animated suits. That'd be incredible. Next suit that I think everyone is expecting and also hoping for is Amazing Spider-Man 2. I feel like it's pretty much guaranteed that we're gonna get it. Maybe not 100%, but given it wasn't in the last game, it feels like they kind of held off on doing it for the second game. Um, really excited to see if that suit is in the game and how it looks. It pretty much like putting this on my like wish list for suits is kind of like backhanded simply because the fact that I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the suit. I think everyone's like well aware that it's more than likely going to be in the game. Like if it's not, then what are you doing unless they're going to release it as DLC? But it's probably going to be in the game. Next suit that I'm not sure is going to be in the game just because there hasn't been a whole lot of like actual promotion for it or anything is the final swing suit from No Way Home. Because the little bit that you do see of that suit, and we finally got a Hot Toys figure of it. They released one, or it's in pre-order right now. I can't remember for sure, but it looks so good. The logo, the colors, there's no more of those random lines on it, which I never cared for, but everyone absolutely hated on like the Stark Tech suit and whatnot. Even like the advanced suit, people hate all the random lines. I don't mind it. I think it adds character. Okay, I love it. But that final swingsuit is just so good and it's so comic accurate. It just looks beautiful. I don't think we get it simply because there hasn't been a lot of promotional stuff for it. Like in terms of like anything other than I guess like Hot Toys releasing that figure. And it kind of upsets me because I really want to see that suit in its glory. I've tried to draw it a few times, but I can't ever get good looks at it, so I can't get a solid look at the logo or like the lines and where certain points end and start. So it's kind of annoying, but I really would love to see that suit. I really doubt we're gonna get it just because we haven't seen anything else from it. But I mean, there's a chance, but I'm not really looking forward to. Like, I'm not getting my hopes up for it. Rather, the final suit that I want to see that I am also pretty confident we're probably not gonna get because no one liked the suit was the Edge of Time suit. I adore the Edge of Time suit. I think it has the same kind of charm that the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit has, where it kind of steers away from all your typical like Spider-Man suits, like the super refined web lines, like the super generic like super bright blue, kind of darker blue or super bright red, kind of darker blue. That's what I'm trying to say. Um I don't think we get it. The logo on it was really solid. I like the over exaggerated eyepieces. I think those look amazing. But again, I don't think we're gonna get it simply because it's not the most beloved suit ever, and it's kind of just like on a fence of like, well, it looks like a normal classic suit. Like Insomniac would probably look at it as like kind of being redundant to do that suit, but I mean, you never know. But again, like the final swing suit from No Way Home, I'm not gonna get my hopes up. I'm pretty confident it's not gonna be in the game. I guess to kind of roll into like my last point is where I want to see the game go from here, which is something I haven't even thought about up until whenever I was making this list. Whereas I was just excited to get to this point to get this second game, and now that I'm thinking about it, we could get a full trilogy and maybe like an expanded kind of like universe in terms of like Insomniac creating their own thing because they're doing a Venom game next, or not Venom, they're doing a Wolverine game next, which is super cool. I'm very excited for that. Um, but whenever I came up with this list and I even like I have it typed out where I want to see this game go next, honestly, no clue. Simply because they've blown my expectations out of the water with Spider-Man 1 whenever that came out. I figured it would be good. It seems kind of difficult to completely ruin a Spider-Man game, especially if you've got a team of people that actually care about the character. And then that game almost won Game of the Year. It did amazing, and the story's great. Every person that voice acted in that game was great. All the art design and just every last bit of it, all of it was like beautiful, perfect, down to every last minute detail. And then with Spider-Man 2, it seems impossible for them to fall. So I'm pretty confident that this game is probably going to get Game of the Year, just mainly because of the fact that not a lot of other games have come out. There's been Baldur's Gate 3, there's been what's the Tears of the Kingdom. That's what it is. Tears of the Kingdom came out, and those games were really good. But I don't think it's gonna beat this simply because this has been so hyped. And given the last game did as good as it is, or good as it did, I think this game's gonna blow it out of the water. And I'm super excited to see where it lands in terms of like Game of the Year or whatnot. But again, trying to come up with like where I think this game could go next, it's incredibly difficult. The first thought I had is maybe lean into a Spider Verse because it seems like they might want to do something like that, considering he did appear, like it was for sure canon, that version of Peter that popped up in the Spider-Verse movie. So that's really cool that they could do something like that, but I'm also afraid that trying to throw people into a third kind of game, just being like, here's a multiverse, have at it. I think that could be very difficult to do. I think multiverse like stories are very, very complicated to do, and it's very weird to get them right. You can do it right, like obviously, so far both the Spider-Verse movies have been really solid, and even like No Way Home, what they did with that multiverse story, a little bit kind of confusing for some people, but still pretty solid overall. I'm not sure how I'd feel about them doing a multiverse story. Uh, the next thought I kind of came up with was, oh well, maybe a Carnage story, because obviously we're getting Venom, so then we could start getting children of Venom, aka Carnage, which I think would be super cool, and also kind of like lead into the next game, kind of forcing Peter to go to Venom, whether or not it be like, let's say Harry gets the symbiote and he gets locked up, and then in the next game, whenever Carnage comes out, Peter has to approach Harry and be like, look, I need your help. I don't know how to deal with this thing. Venom at least would, like something like that, but I'm not sure how they would handle that. I think Carnage in my mind right now is the one villain I would want for Spider-Man 3. I'm already super excited for Kraven, I was less excited about Venom than I was Kraven, which is really weird because I'm not a huge fan of Kraven in the comics. I like his character. Um I love the Last Hunt comic, and then there's one more that I read where it had like Kraven's children and whatnot. I read that not too long ago trying to catch up on my comics. But that one was super good, where he's kind of locked in a bunch of like Spider-Man's villains and just animal related like villains and heroes and whatnot, and kind of forced all of them to be in this like hunting ground. I think doing something like that would be kind of cool, which I think is kind of where they're leaning on it. I'm pretty sure whenever Kraven gets there, he's not going to be just going for Spider-Man. I feel like it's going to be a situation where every single person in Spider-Man's rogues gallery, considering most of them are animal based, you've got Scorpion, you've got Vulture, you've got Rhino, you've got Doc Ock. All these characters are animal based. So Kraven's going to be trying to test his skills up against them because he wants to prove that he's better than everything in the animal kingdom. He already knows he's stronger than most men. So now he's trying to push himself against these animal creatures, technically speaking. So I think it's going to be kind of everyone like against each other. It's going to come into like, maybe we'll get missions where like Rhino has escaped again, and then we go to take down Rhino, and then by the time we get there, Kraven is there kicking his ass. So now we have to protect Rhino while he's also trying to kill us and Kraven. Either way, I'm really excited for Kraven, but I don't know where I would want this game to go next. I think right now Carnage is the one thing I would want, but I can't say that for sure. Simply because of the fact that I think there's a lot of other things they could do. They could introduce like maybe Mephisto, do something like a One Last Day kind of story. I think that'd be very weird to do, but also if they do it right, it could be very fascinating. I think technically speaking, the obvious answer for who we're gonna get the next game is Green Goblin, because he's such a huge villain, and they have yet to like officially set him up. And I think that's where Norman is gonna end at the end of this game. Something's probably gonna happen to Harry, whether or not he dies or whether or not like let's say like the testing doesn't work, he can't get Harry cured, so he ends up just trying some sort of formula, like a last ditch effort, and then that's where you get the Green Goblin serum, and he ends up driving himself mad, and then that's where the third game leads into. I think that's the obvious answer, but I think if they were going to do that, then they could still manage to work around, because each of these games have had two villains so far. We've had uh Mr. or Martin Lee, Mr. Negative, and then Doc Ock, and then in this game we're getting Kraven and then Venom. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to do either a full-fledged Green Goblin story where it's just focused on him, and he's going to be like the biggest bad we've had in any of these games, or they're going to do the kind of same formula where we're going to get Green Goblin as like a primary like start villain, and then it's going to be Carnage, something like that. I think it'd be really cool. Um, Other than that, that's kind of all I have to say about this game. I believe I probably inputted my like giveaway thing at the beginning of the video, so I'm not going to talk about that here. Link for it should be in the description. Either way, that's kind of all I have to say about it, though. I'm super excited for it. Super excited for everyone to play it. I will be streaming it whenever it or not airs, whenever it goes live on the like 19th at 11 p.m. So be excited for that. I can't say too much without just kind of like nerding out. Um, I'm gonna just end it here. If you are new here, subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. Um, yeah, that's it. You guys have a nice day now. Peace.